determination was made.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.
And welcome, everybody. Shut down Combat Story over here. Listening to the guy that invented the armed drone program for the CIA. Interesting interview that went live this morning. But we're here for Ask Gun Questions, which is a show we've been doing now for show we've been doing now for a long time. This is a show where we answer questions that people ask about guns. Normally, I invite in Tony Simon from New Jersey, Clover Tack from Texas. Pretty sure both of them are not into guns anymore. Tony is into different kinds of vintage ukuleles, small guitars, and Clover, of course, is now only interested in European sporting goods items. And I guess I got my microphone here. I'm talking into my camera again. So unfortunately, Tony and Clover are no longer interested in guns. And when I asked them, hey, will you at least help get your knowledge out there? Neither one of them answered the emails. So what am I going to do? So I got my little snorty co-host over here. He's super hot, so eventually he'll be panting, and eventually he'll make such a ruckus that we have to take him down. We have to put him down off the table. But for now, he's sitting here at the table. And today, we're talking about gunflation. Yep. How much money? Anybody get concerned here? But we are about to show actual money. How much money it costs to buy things. Oh, look at somebody likes money. Because he knows, because he costs a bunch of money. So we're going to talk about money today and how much things costed. So how are you going to know how much things cost? Well, one of the ways to do that would be to go down right here and look at what's called a Shotgun News. Get the camera a little bit better. There we go. So a Shotgun News is a publication that came out for a long time. I guess it changed the name. They still do it. This one is from July of 2004, and this one is from December 2005. So we'll let the people who are joining us live keep in mind both Tony and Clover are not here live. So thanks for joining us. You'll have to be the co-host. This co-host is getting kind of antsy. So we'll let the audience here pick. We're going to start a poll. Which? Right? And then it'll either be 2004 or 2005. All right, and then I have to hit this button. So go ahead and let us know, and then we'll choose which one of these Shotgun Newses we'll be taking a look at. So December 2005, it says Combat Cartridge Trends from 2005. Combat Cartridge Trends. Otherwise, kind of a standard cover. The 2004 edition, trying to remember if I would have been working at Microsoft during this one or not. Could have been. This one's a fancy color version. And I don't know when these started, but you used to get some special editions in color, and then I think different times during the year they'd come out in color. And now I think after a while they're just always in color. We're getting an overwhelming number that want to go to 2005. Interesting choice since 2004 is older. But let's take a look at 2005. So these would be shipped to you in the mail, and you can see that this is huge. This is a giant. Look, I'm going to put it up next to a little puppy for scale. Come on. There we go. Look, I'm going to put it up next to this puppy for scale. Look at how big this thing is. It's so much bigger than this puppy. This puppy's tiny. This magazine's huge. So this is a paper magazine. It's made out of newspaper material. Super easy to tear it. See, I just tore it right in half. So does everybody know that trick? You can take any kind of magazine, even this kind of magazine. You hold it up to your mouth. If he knows how to blow, he would blow on it. And when you blow on it, that's what it sounds like. And at the same time, when you blow on it, you go like this. And everybody thinks you just ripped the magazine in half. It's super hilarious. When somebody hands you a really old vintage magazine, go. They think it's hilarious. All right. So, MC, let's see. We got actual comments coming in. Thanks for joining us. As you see, Tony and Clover no longer join the show anymore. They don't like answering gun questions. They didn't specifically say they hate answering gun questions. They're just not here right now, right? So, just saying. Let's get some answers. Let me see some things that are happening over here. We had G23 joining us here first since I don't got anybody else out there that's doing anything. Why don't we go grab G23's channel? He has one of these YouTube channels you hear about. I'll pop it up here behind the puppy. Jump over to the subscriptions. And G23 channel right there, right behind the puppy. And then he's got a video. If you go over to live, he'll have a video about can you get your rights restored in New York later on today. We'll put that up behind the puppy here. And then we'll go over to the insides of our thing that we're looking at right now. We'll quickly drop it into the playlist called Ask Gun Questions somehow. There we go. Did it work? Yeah. And then we'll save that. Then we'll jump over to the customization tab of this video. Notice how both Clover and Tony are in the thumbnail of this video, but only this dude's co-hosting. Seems like a ripoff. And for the redirect, we'll zap it over to G23's channel and that specific video. And then again, Clover, Tony, Puppy. I gave Puppy a fancy chair this week. Oh, snap. Look who's joining us. Here's Clover.
Greetings and salutations.
Hey, thanks for jumping in. So I didn't set this thing up till about, it's been going for 8 minutes. I set this thing up about 12 minutes ago. So thanks for jumping in. What we're doing this week, though, is Gunflation. I'm just about to say hey to everybody that's joining us, but if we get it off of this dude, we're going to be taking a look at this shotgun news. They voted on the 2005 edition of Shotgun News. So while I'm flashing up on the screen the different people that are joining us, what are Clover's recollections or impressions or opinions on Shotgun News?
I mean, it was okay. I've definitely seen it around. Never had really like any, subscription or regularly seen it. Not near like
Oh, okay.
some of the other stuff that was out there. But yeah.
So was there a different one that you were more paying attention to, or you were just not paying attention to these? Because these were like, I think, weekly or something. If not like twice a week or month, they were like weekly, I think.
Nah, it was like the monthly stuff. So like Handloader Magazine and Guns and Ammo probably were the biggest two magazines that I seen. I can remember like early on and that sort of stuff.
So the difference with Shotgun, well, you've seen them though. Shotgun News are essentially a classified ads, but it's kind of not also because this has a lot of history in 2A with running the articles for Knox, Neil Knox, when he was writing, when he was alive. He was running an article in here. And since this was consistent and what's the word for like often, unlike some of the magazines that were monthly or even quarterly or whatever, this one was coming out all the time. All right, I'm putting this guy down. We're going to put this guy down. Sorry, he's making too much noise. We're putting him down.
on the ground. He's out of here. But there was other articles in here that I read them sometimes, but not all the time. Mostly I was looking at it for the both regular old advertisements, which were bigger, and way more of them in here. This was definitely an advertising periodical. It was for doing business. It was not so much for articles, but they did jam some articles in it. And then for the persistent ones, like some of the big national sellers before, like even Brownells or something. I don't think Brownells was specifically in here, but stuff like a Brownells, people think about a Brownells catalog that was coming out. You could just order those. I don't think they cost anything, or if they did cost anything, they didn't actually charge you for them. You would get a free Brownells catalog if you ordered enough from them. They would just include it in your order. Well, some places didn't bother with a catalog. They just had a consistent running ad in here, and it would kind of change or maybe say the same. So here's the Knox report. This is when Jeff, his son, is writing it. This is 2004. Can you see this okay?
Yeah.
What's the deal with YouTube and showing something like this with prices and stuff? Is there any issue when we're just looking at a piece of paper?
Nah, it's old, so you do keep in mind that this is old and outdated.
Yeah, this is more like historical reminiscing
Right.
and research more than anything else.
Yeah,
So
just got
the
main thing is to make that caveat. So
it's not super old, but this is an article. It's kind of interesting. It's showing these different cartridges and stuff. Here's Arsenal. So back in 2004, we had the end of the assault weapons ban. So everybody was trying to bring in as much as they could. And Arsenal out of Vegas, Nevada, was a direct line to the Bulgarian arsenal. So they were bringing in high quality Bulgarian variants of the AK. And as you can see, most of them were milled. They had some stamped varieties that were in high demand, but the milled ones, for whatever reason, some people like them, but that's what they had. Centerfire Systems. Are you familiar with Centerfire Systems?
Yeah.
They'd have a catalog this size that they sent out to dealers. So if you knew an FFL, if you knew a gun shop, they might give you, at least that's how I got them. I would get their old Centerfire catalogs, which were essentially these kind of catalogs. Well, no, this kind of format, but a catalog, like nothing but catalog, just a catalog of all the different stuff, but it would be parts kits and cleaning kits, all the stuff that a gun shop might want, plus more. But then those things came out monthly or something, so they usually would have like a pile of old ones, and one from a couple of months ago is still pretty good. But if this parts kit like this is a Yugo SA85 762x39 AK parts kit for $179. If this was at the Centerfire one, like getting it from the gun shop, you'd probably get that for more like 120 or something. It's usually like a pretty good chunk off. But here, that's what we're really looking at. Here's a Yugo underfolder parts kit, $139, and it's missing. I'm not sure if they're missing the dust covers and the insides, or they're just showing a simplified picture there. But in 2004, it was probably a really nice complete kit. Military gun supply. You ever order or do any? You're familiar with that one?
No, I don't think
It's
so.
mostly, I'm trying to say, Milsurp stuff. So you were never into Milsurp stuff, or were you?
Oh yeah. In 04, it was crazy in 04 when you're talking about, because a lot of folks don't. I mean, they think about like the post like 2013 AR craze, and things like that. And holy moly, after AWB sunset in 04, that's when you've seen a huge explosion then, right?
Right.
And
Like everybody
also with
wanted everything that they perceived as being like they couldn't obtain earlier,
you
which
had
they could or couldn't, but they didn't bother until
yeah, you had major boutique brands even back then. I mean, Yankee Hill Machine comes to mind, but then also, which I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't an ad in there somewhere for Model One sales, but that was a
Oh
huge
yeah,
one over in
definitely. They'll
Europe.
have a spread, maybe
Yeah,
4 pages even.
right.
And these are the articles. So the articles would be like this. So some people would be looking forward to them. So I have a stack of these things that's, I don't know, 2 foot tall, a stack of them, a couple of years worth of subscription. And like I say, you just get these things in mail all the time.
Well, and
So
you can
you keep
tell
them for the
too.
ads.
You can tell too just by you flipping the pages. That is cheap paper too. Like
Oh yeah,
those
it's a
things are
cheap
not.
newspaper,
Those are not designed to even last. They're really not.
but they can. I mean, this is
Oh yeah, if you take
2004,
care
and
of
it's
them.
hardly yellowed. But yeah,
No,
it's
if you take care
definitely
of them, they
in
will. Yeah.
Arizona. I'm sure if I smoked or had like a humidity or more, well, I guess I have some extreme temperatures, but you know what I'm saying, yeah. JG Sales, I'm sure
Oh yeah.
everybody's familiar with this place. So this is in Prescott. I can go up and drive around. You've never been to this place yet, huh?
No.
Whenever you go to Prescott, if you're ever in Prescott, keep in mind this place is there. It's boring. They won't let you even in. I've, all different levels of trying to get in there. They've never let me in behind the front door or the front little lobby area, even buying thousands of dollars worth of stuff off of them. And then in like a lot of stuff, like a truckload of stuff off of them for a friend. I picked it up, and then just being on YouTube and stuff like that, I've never had any interest in letting me in, which is frustrating.
Zoom in
It
up there
seems
on
like
the
a cool
model.
company.
Zoom in up there on the Model 10s for a second.
So this is 2004
Oh yeah.
prices.
Trade
I don't know if I can get it to zoom or
It's
focus.
good enough. It's good enough. I can see. Yeah, it's good
Yeah.
enough.
So it's saying though, 38 revolvers with a 4-inch barrel, blue finish, may come with wood or rubber grips. Add $10 for hand select. The best condition is 189, and the good condition they say 169.
Yeah, and not for necessarily from JG, but I remember buying those. I remember those being in gun shops and everything, and I've even got a few that come from that. I can
Now this
remember,
is
and I can remember not
probably.
that long ago when they were twice that price and still a good deal.
What do you think of that? You get Yugoslavian SKS for
Ah,
89.
that's
What does
way
that cost
way
today?
more expensive than I paid for mine. Way more expensive. I wouldn't pay
What do you
that.
think that costs today, though?
Oh, that's just
Put a
eight
four
hundred
in front
dollars.
of there?
So
No
800
more than.
easy.
Oh snap! What about this Mosin? $64.
Gonna put probably 3 or 4 64, probably
So
$300 or $400
here's your
on
Wassers. Here's your 2004 Wasser.
that. Hmm.
No dimple. That's how you could tell it was not in demand. 319. Two or more, 319. If you bought one, it was 329. And there's the parts kits that everybody loved.
About what I paid for mine.
The Romanian parts kits.
Mhm.
99 if you buy one, 89 if you buy two or more. And guess what? It got way cheaper when you buy 50 or more. So they had some machine guns in here, which is always neat to look at. They would have, like now on their website, even in 2004, I think they had a pretty decent website. And you could look at their website and have a pretty good idea. They sold a lot of dealer to dealer stuff, so their website or their inventory would change kind of quick, or it could change quickly. But so they imported and they wholesaled, and they'd have these deals on milsurp for the most part. And then these, I don't know, I was going to say, what do you think these are? They don't really say. So it's possible that they're police trade-ins,
They
but
are. Yeah.
they could also be from like a range or like a school or like an academy or something else. Like
Most
these
of
are fleet guns, essentially. These are like the taxi cabs or police cars of guns, right?
yeah, most of the ones, the Model 10, and we talked about this the other night somewhere, but the Model 10 was widely used worldwide, like internationally. So you
Yeah,
had
that's true.
companies
They
that
could
would
have
even
come from some other country.
you could potentially those could have potentially come from another country halfway across the globe that were imported, back into the country or whatever, and came from, law enforcement surplus from another country or training. I know that here, most of the ones I've seen in the gun shops here, you could trace them back to the police academies. And then prior to that, you could trace some of them back to some departments. But most of the time, you could only go as far as like the academy. Like the departments would liquidate and they would go to the academies, right? And then once they phase them out of the academy, that's when they got back into the commercial arena again.
Somebody's asking about the playing cards. Thanks for that. We do have. I got to go see. It's been a while. I haven't been updating the store, and when you don't fiddle with it, inventories can get all wacky. And I tend to keep the inventories low so that something doesn't happen and I don't accidentally sell more than I have in stock. So if you're asking about the AK cards, I'll dig around next time Clover's saying something. But I think we do have. Well, I know we have some. I just don't know if they're on the site in inventory right now. But I'll work on them.
They got to be getting low in quantity at this point.
They were, but then I was digging around trying to find stuff for another project, and I found a bucket of them, or a box of them, I should say. So I'm going to have a deal on them to because I found some more inventory. I found a box of them that I didn't know I had. I don't know how many's in the box, but a lot. Like, it's a big box. So I guess what I was saying though, that J&G is known for their guns and mostly mill serps, and then like these lots and stuff, and then weird old stuff too. People would bring stuff to JG and they have enough money to just buy stuff or whatever. They know they can sell it. They show up at all the gun shows in the region and set up. So they're definitely moving a lot of product, but they're just as well known, if not maybe, I don't know. I think 50-50. Maybe somebody have a different opinion, but they're ammo. So I mean, this is pretty much where most of the people in Arizona bought their ammo at gun shows until the place in California started coming around. I don't know what it's like in Texas, but I'm sure you've got, I doubt JG went out to Texas for their shows, but I'm sure you've got the same, most people probably have the same kind of thing in their region where somebody's the big ammo seller. So J&G was like the big ammo seller at gun shows for a long time until, like I say, they got some competition from somebody who has a dock or something in California. But, tons of ammo. So you bought ammo from them at all?
I'm sure I did back in the day, but definitely not anything in the last. Good Lord, probably going on 10 years or pretty close. I don't think I bought.
Yeah, in 2004, this would have been like early internet and not a lot of commerce online. And although they probably had a website, it even says jgsales.com up here. Probably just as many people were buying this way over the phone with credit cards and stuff.
Yeah, right.
But,
That's predominantly what I would do. Yeah, pick up the phone and
but
call.
then soon after this, or maybe mid 2000s, people started using websites more and more, and then a new website would come along and have the best deals. And so I don't know if they're still doing it, but again, wholesale, big lots of ammo, thousands at a time, often or more, and then lots of actual surplus stuff. Well, I should say more than occasionally, like a consistent supply of real surplus ammo coming from the Cold War or World War II or some other buildup to a massive war, and then the release of those inventories or stockpiles. But then also all this stuff that's made in those same factories for commercial use. And sometimes this stuff is just commercially packaged, repurposed, or repackaged, inventory also. But whatever, you'd get mostly the name brands, but for a collector, like somebody like me that was trying to keep up with it all, you also would kind of watch these things over time, and subtle things would change. Now it's coming from this factory instead of this factory, and it probably had something to do with how many containers of it they had or something like that. Now optics and stuff like that, I never bought that stuff too much from JG, but I'm assuming it was probably again a wholesaler, so they were probably getting surplus stuff, mill serp stuff, and then lots or used stuff. I'm not sure. But I was also going to say, look, 5 pages. So this was definitely something that people would look forward to, and they considered this a big part of their marketing for a long time. 5 pages in this thing is probably not cheap. Here's Wilson Combat with a single page, and their guns cost $3,000, $2,000, and $1,300 back in 2004. What'd you think of Wilson back then? Were you drooling over stuff like this, or just turning the page? He's muted.
Yeah, I was muted. Yeah, with Wilson. Yeah, 2004, not so much.
Yeah, I mean, I've known of Wilson, but I've never been wanting, needing one.
Yeah, I got into some Wilson stuff probably a few years after that, 2010 to 2012 or 13, something like that. Paying attention to Wilson and picking up some stuff from Wilson and stuff like that. But yeah, prior to that, no.
I found the page for the AK cards, and I'll need to adjust the inventory, so I'll try to do that while we're talking here. But right now it says they're sold out, but I'll adjust the inventory as soon as I can dig into the back end and find my passwords and stuff. So CDNN, they'd also have a regular catalog, right? Like you could ask them and they'd send you, and it was more like the size of a magazine, but pretty thick, if I remember right. Like it was like getting a magazine, but it was all catalog. It was like nothing but this kind of stuff. Did you ever get one of theirs, or did you ever order from this place?
Thanks, Newton. Oh, maybe he went away. Let's see.
No,
So
I
then,
keep hitting mute, but no, a long time ago, yeah. I mean, this is all the
I mean,
places in there. Like,
2004 is definitely pre-internet.
yeah,
Like
I mean,
they were just playing with the internet.
you're talking a decade plus. I mean, easily a decade plus.
Well, no, it's 2004. It's already 23. So yeah, this is 19 years ago.
Yeah, since I
Like
bought
almost
anything.
2 decades
Yeah.
ago. So, kind of give you an idea, this is another place, DSA out of Illinois,
Oh yeah.
and now they make guns. Back then, parts. Look at all these weird parts and stuff. Tapco, I think Tapco has come and gone. So here was this weird stock for. Do you know what Tapco stood for?
No, I don't remember.
The something and company, right? Tool and plastic or something like that. It stood for something like that.
Tool and Plastic Company.
Something like that. So our guns kind of came and went, selling a lot of interesting stuff, but not real reliable. I don't remember them having the best reputation always. Inner Ordnance out of Ohio, or no, North Carolina, excuse me. I think I'm a different one. Mostly Milsurp stuff that just wasn't my thing. So I'd sometimes drew like an Uzi kit or something, but once you start looking at all this German shit, I could give a crap about German shit. Natchez, essentially Brownells, right? Or is it? Well, yeah. I mean, it's pretty much the same variety as the Brownells, right? A lot of gunsmithing stuff, if I remember right. I don't know much about optics and scopes. I always thought this one was cool. I never order anything because it's all German stuff, but at least they had interesting cartoons. Like they made their catalog interesting to look at, and you can see again 4 pages. This is almost like Bannerman, like having some fun with their catalog. If anybody's out there and wants to see something specifically, let us know. There's the Browning Mosquito. You like them or hate them?
Nope.
Or I mean the Sig Mosquito when I say Browning Mosquito.
Yeah, I knew what you were saying. The Sig. No. Yeah, they eventually phased that one out. And,
What do you think of these carbon 15
oh,
pistols?
the carbon stuff was horrible back in the day. Oh my god, I've got literally a drawer sitting over there with it's got at least a half a dozen carbon 15 uppers in it that are shot. And I'm talking about after like a box of ammo or two or three, like screwed up shot. They're horrible.
And then we
Upper
got Sarko.
polymer lower, like there's controversy right around the whole polymer lower thing, and some people get by with it, and some people don't. I haven't had any significant issues with
Depends on
poly
how you're
lowers,
doing to it. Yeah.
but holy crap, poly uppers! Whoever thought even remotely that was a good idea? I don't understand it.
Maybe like one, not just a regular fire extinguisher, but like a one-time use fire extinguisher, like something that's designed to just be there and work, and then buy another
Maybe.
one, or get a new one to replace it.
Yeah, I mean certain designs and stuff, maybe, but if you're talking the AR platform, there's just way too much hot gas and other things going on in that thing. It's just poly is not good. Maybe one day, maybe poly gets better. It's possible.
I mean, it already has since then for sure.
That's true.
So that was a whole bunch of them from Sarko. Ohio Ordnance is the one I was thinking of. Lots of parts kits, and they started to make guns for a while. I'm pretty sure they're gone now.
Yeah, I remember
Flower
Sarko.
custom.
I bought Sarko did Milsurp stuff too, right?
Sarko, yeah, they did a ton. It was mostly German stuff and like this kind of
Yeah.
thing, like the paratrooper stocks.
Seems like I've gotten. I don't remember if I had to get stuff for a Mosin or what, but it was some stock Milsurp things that I had to get. I think I got from Sarko one time.
They're one
E.
of these
Arthur, E.
places
Arthur
that
Brown is another one that's probably in there somewhere.
that one I'm not familiar with, but that's the kind of place that would like buy like an inventory of an old place, and they would have like all the old canteen pouches or all the old bayonet scabbards or something from some gun.
Duracoat before Cerakote was a thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say I went past this place finally. Known about him forever, and I was driving up to Minnesota, and I had time, so I drove past that place. It was closed, but at least I've seen it's essentially like in an industrial area. Just looks like any other place. It's just that there's Duracoat signs up on it.
Yeah, I could remember when Duracoat sort of become a more mainstream thing anyway. People were all so happy about it.
Yeah, well, it was more than paint, and you didn't have to. Well, there wasn't a lot of options back then.
It didn't require the same stuff for bluing. That's awesome, right there.
No,
That's awesome.
$199. Not much more than that now.
Nope,
The Woodsman's Pal. Does it say how much? No, they're super expensive though.
more than a lot of the guns in there probably.
It's like $300 or something.
Yeah.
Let's see. Our guns. A Krebs pistol. Krebs crank. So, our guns. Okay, so they were selling different things.
There's
I
some
guess.
tannerite up there. Check that out. That's got to be getting into the infancy of.
Skylight Company has changed to Tannerite Corporation as of May 15th. So, whenever Skylight Company changed to Tannerite, this is the December. So, this is a couple of months after that. Yeah,
Yeah.
name changed to Tannerite.
That binary hasn't been around for that long, not commercially anyway.
Perfect for the professional range competition. There's absolutely no doubt. Sounds like you may have seen them used at Knob Creek. They make a huge flash. I, Daniel Tanner, am the inventor of the binary target concept, and as well as the chemical composition. Yeah, so
It's not that difficult.
interesting. Right above it is the drop-in auto safety sear for $105. No FFL needed. How does that happen? That's scary. What is that even supposed to be? Or is that supposed to be to make your full auto into semi-auto? Then you wouldn't need nothing for that.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's weird writing or weird description of it. M1 carbine band with. Oh, I was thinking that was a stock. Okay, it's just some barrel band or whatever. Okay, so I'm looking at the list through the camera here. Just started looking. We're about more than halfway through. My MC is saying any Beretta 84s or 85s. Well, there's been a few Berettas in here, but in 2004, I think Beretta was still a little bit too cool for school. They weren't really necessarily selling to the public.
Yep.
In competition with other companies like they are today, right? Like SIG and H&K and stuff. You could get them. But Berettas were a little bit easier to obtain, but I would say still in that class of like, you could get a Smith & Wesson, a Ruger, a Colt, all the American guns anywhere. And then they'd have maybe a cabinet, and that would have the SIGs and the HKs and the Walthers and the Berettas, right?
Well,
and sometimes they'd be used, and then like a company or one gun shop might run the whole line, but then the next gun shops in town would have 2 or 3 guns. There's no way they would have that many.
I remember, and again, historical reference. I mean, we're looking at like 2004 here, but I can remember as far as the Beretta Cheetahs, and then also a lot of the Makarov stuff that was coming in from Europe and whatever. That stuff being imported seemed like that was a little later than 04. Seemed like that may have been in the like 08 to 10 range, somewhere in there, that I've seen a ton of that stuff
I
coming
don't
in.
know, I wasn't paying enough attention because I was just sort of coming back into guns, and I definitely wasn't like looking around. I was just focused on what I was focused on.
Yeah.
But there had to be some resurgence of gun or interest in guns that must have correlated with when I moved out to the West, so that I started getting into guns. And I think a lot of people started at the same time, just coincidentally, because like what you're saying there, I think that took until all the companies started to look around and go, oh, wait a minute, people are buying guns? Like, yeah, let's get our guns there. Because up until then, they just didn't bother putting their guns here because people weren't buying that many guns. Oh, you know what it was? It's probably the number of states that were starting CCW. So as soon as you start CCW, you know what happens. You buy one or you use whatever gun you got, and then you go, oh, I want a smaller one, a lighter one, a longer one, a shorter one, whatever. You buy that one, and then you go, oh, I need a different one for my tuxedo. And then you're like, oh, I need a different one for my robe. So you start buying like 6 guns, and you're getting one for your spouse. So that's probably a big factor. And then, Glock starts selling a lot of guns. So Beretta's like, heck, let's just import more. We got them. HK's like, yeah, let's just import them. We have them sitting here, or we can make them.
There's Model 1. Speak of
Boom.
the devil.
So yeah, I've got a couple of Model 1 patches finally. Those took a long time, but I've got a couple of barrels. That was my thing. Model 1 would show up at the gun shows, the big gun shows, and just have tons of barrels and parts and whatever.
Oh
But
yeah,
their barrel
yeah.
displays was always so cool
Well, they carried a
because you
lot of
could
different.
get hands on.
They carried a lot of different brands too. They had their, their branded stuff, or maybe even it was a non-branded that they carried. But then they had, they offered various upgrades. It was really cool. They was one of the
You could
first.
go to a gun show and pick up all these different guns, or at least the front ends of them, and know what the differences were instead of just like looking at the picture and assuming what the differences are.
Yeah, yeah. But they had, there's a big thing now with the dissipators coming back and da 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 da. Da. I'm like, crap. Model One had all that back in the day.
There's Brownell's little tiny ad.
Yeah.
Hey, we can help you if you want to help. We can give you a catalog.
Right. Like
Back
if
there
that
with
was
Christmas
nowadays, they would
presents.
have the. If that was nowadays, they would have the 4 6 page
Oh
spread.
yeah, yeah, exactly. With as big as they are now.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, Widener's Reloading
Yeah.
and Shooting. Never heard of them. Have you?
Yeah. I have actually.
That one's in Tennessee.
Mhm.
And then Huntington. That's reloading components. So I was never into reloading enough to buy stuff like that.
Yeah.
Something called ammunitionstore.com. So I wonder if they're still around. Whoa. And then this kind of weird stuff. So this is military arms for sale. And then, like, good luck trying to get through this.
Wow.
There's going to be somewhere like actual classifieds, but then you get into like miscellaneous stuff for sale, and that's where you get all the weird stuff. So, lanterns, legal ivory, rocket propellant, motors, signal smoke, military gear, mannequins, torso forms, male and female, for I guess targets or something. Wanted dead or alive, auto photos of famous persons, $2 million paid for signatures. That's kind of a weird one.
Wow.
Flechette ammo. So the little tiny flechettes that came out of those things from Nam, people must have got those in like 55-gallon drums because you always see that stuff for sale, but it's just neat to see how different way people have sold it.
Yeah.
There's a place in Phoenix called the Wilderness that still making stuff. Female-owned company here in Arizona. All USA made stuff. I wear their belts all the time. We're getting towards the end. Then you got gun shows. That's another reason to check it out is the gun show schedules and the different like this, the ads, I guess, for the different gun shows. And you can see a whole bunch of different gun shows on the back here. Knife show, National Gun Day. National Gun Day. Oh, that's what they're calling this gun show in the Kentucky Fair and Expo Center. 2,000 tables. That's not bad. How big is Wanamaker? 4,000?
Yeah, 4,000 plus.
So that's half the size of Wanamaker. That's pretty interesting. I wonder if that one's still going on. Would you like to be on our website? Look at that. Who do they have on there? Cole, Gun Auction, Ballistic Fashions. I was hoping they'd have us on there. They didn't have us on there. So that's the end of it. There's AGI, core of a lot of magazines and stuff back in the day. I never really paid attention, but AGI is one of the oldest gunsmithing schools. And then in the 80s, they decided, or they kind of figured out and said, hey, you know what? All these old gunsmiths that know all the old techniques are not necessarily in high demand because people only wanted new guns that you need armorers for. So all these old school specific talents that people had for, specific guns or whatever, because, billions of crazy issues with different guns and stuff, this knowledge is going to get lost. So they started to videotape some of their instructors during these different courses for, fill in the blank crazy old specific guns or whatever, and imagine the questions that come up during a class or whatever. So they started to record that, and then people started to buy those VHS tapes. That became a side, an alternative way to do the gunsmithing school. But in addition to just be interesting marketing and a way for people to get information about gunsmithing, it's also recording knowledge that would have otherwise been lost. And now it's getting into DVDs and, of course, streaming and everything. So kind of cool that this is, I think, taken for granted by so many people because it was kind of so ubiquitous. That's the right word. Like every magazine had
Yeah.
some sort of AGI ad, and I never really paid attention. But around this time is when I start. Actually, this is 2004. So this is December of 2004. In January 2005, I would have met up with AGI and I started to buy their DVDs wholesale and then sell them on my websites to um, kind of explore what it's like to do business online.
Yeah.
And wasn't necessarily successful because we didn't have stores or anything back then. People would literally send me a check or send me cash or whatever, and I would send them the DVD. But it was interesting trying to figure out how to or send a DVD without getting broken and being inexpensive. And I ended up actually selling quite a few of them, so it was kind of interesting. But anyway,
They
so
will
it's
go if you put them in the right mailer with the postal service. CDs, DVDs are considered media, and so they'll go through media mail, which is a little cheaper.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. It was a size specific thing because they were right at the line, so it was
yeah.
essentially wrapping them in cardboard, but
So
then kind of twisting or hoping that it didn't get destroyed in shipping.
yeah, couple of weird things. Well, first of all, with AGI, yeah, we've got this set of. It wasn't just firearm specific stuff either, because we've got a set. I think it's 4 DVDs on um, using a lathe, like how from start to finish, like beginner through
Oh
intermediate
yeah,
through
just being a
advanced,
machinist type of
just like
skills.
machining on a lathe, like making screws and all the little things you would do, right? And of course, that can translate over to threading a barrel and other stuff, obviously. But yeah, it came from AGI, probably around that time, quite honestly. Oh, 04, 05, 06, something like that. Um, but yeah, when you said something about sending DVDs in the mail, remember, kids, Netflix used to do that, and it boggled my mind. Like because they would literally have. Did you ever get Netflix DVDs in the mail? Gee,
Oh
did
yeah,
you
they're
ever
just in a
do
piece
that?
of paper.
Like
Yeah,
it
they're just a
literally
piece of
was a
paper.
was a DVD in a paper sleeve in a little thin Mylar envelope, and it's like I
And
can't tell you
everybody
how
was
many.
disrespectful to them, right? The post office was like,
Yeah,
"No, I just won't break these."
yeah. It's like it was insane that I didn't get any more broke ones than I got.
I think I only ever got one between
Yeah.
Hollywood. Wasn't Hollywood also did that, and or someplace else, and
Blockbuster
Blockbuster
did too
maybe.
for a little while. Yeah, yeah,
Blockbuster, yeah,
yeah.
Blockbuster, and them did it. So I think I only had one ever. So I was like, okay, it can happen, but yeah,
Mhm.
I had more often. I would get one from somebody else down the street or something. Like I would get somebody else's more. I only got the one ever broke.
Well, it was still you got had a whole other deal though when you started talking about magnetic devices. So when you talked about cassette tapes from back in the day or VHS tapes, like if they run those through a specific scanner or passed or set them on the top of a specific piece of equipment, like even if they were in the box and packaged, it would wipe them completely.
So this is neat. I'm gonna have to pull this one and put it into my collection because usually I keep the stuff with interesting AK stuff separate. But this is from earlier. This is from July of 2004. So assault weapons ban ended in September of 2004, right? Yeah. So this is just before the
Right.
end of the assault weapons ban. These are actual Russian Type 3 milled part sets. Uh, all they're missing is the receiver and the magazine. They're Izhvash marked, so they're actually Russians. Bores are chromed and in good condition. The wet wood is well used. Um, well, the finish is well worn off, and the parts may or may not match uh, because of the place of origin or whatever. But $95, and I can remember getting into AKs. Just must have been right after this, really, and had no idea this had just happened. But these parts kits were already hundreds and hundreds by the time I was paying attention. I can't imagine what a Russian Type 3 kit would be worth today, or the finished gun that it created, that you'd make out of it. So I'm just thumbing through this earlier one from 2000. Oh, I guess this was a year earlier. This was 2005, and this is early
There's
2004.
Versa. That's crazy. Versa, the most popular concealed carry handgun on the planet, there for a very, very long time. That one right there. And think about all the Wonder Nines and the stuff we have nowadays.
Well, this was the thing. In 2004, you had 1911s and you had like your 9mm double stack, what are they, Rugers and probably a Smith, right? And
But they weren't
Glock
little.
only did, well, no, Glock started in, a year, what am I saying? Couple, they had a couple of models, but they were pretty much one trick ponies still. They weren't evolving or doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
So these little guns, yeah, were what everybody's thought was going to be the answer to everybody's questions or whatever. But I think this is just a little bit too early. There weren't enough states doing concealed carry, so a tiny little 9 wasn't any fun at the range. And if you weren't able to put it in your pocket,
Yeah.
lost its appeal. But yeah, interesting. It's more than life size. It's Eagle Imports.
Yep, which is no longer around anymore. We got Verso USA now.
You could get a machine gun shield mount for your some kind of armored vehicle for $500. All right, so MC is saying, wasn't there also a for sale section? Yeah, that's what I thought. So I was looking in the back here. There was a small one there. There's a little bit bigger one here, like it's organized between surplus gear for sale, stocks and grips, taxidermy, scopes and lasers, sales and auctions. Another gun show section there. It's going to be fairly similar, and that's one of the other reasons I'm thumbing through it, just to show you they didn't change too much. Oh shit, guns and stuff. Do you remember guns and stuff? Back in the beginning of the internet, this was a site to get not too much over wholesale. So there's the Wasser for $279, a Bulgarian for $568, a Setme for $299. So if you had $300 to spend in 2004, are you getting the Wasser AK? Are you getting the Setme? Are you getting the trench shotgun? Or like a number of other things, like 2 of those Mac 10s or 11s, I guess, or some other
Is
combination.
that an
of other
original? Is that an original trench?
It says authentic reproduction. So
Oh no. Okay. Even
probably
the authentic
right there.
reproductions. I know a guy that specializes.
Yeah, make
Well
it look
known on
cool.
the FAL Files forum, but he specializes in reproing older stuff to get it like accurate and then whatever. And even a repro trench gun is $1,500-1,800 now, I hear. So
Yeah, I mean, just because it's reproduction doesn't mean there are more originals around. Like that just means that now the reproductions are hard to get. Also,
well, it's
so
hard to get. It's hard to get the components to make them. You know what I mean? Like to dress
build
them
them up
out and all that. Yeah.
Well, you could. I'm assuming they fake it at this point, but yeah.
Yeah. But to be accurately faked as well. You know what I mean? Like you could 3D
That's
print
true.
some crap to bolt
Yeah,
to it, but it would be 3D printed crap. It wouldn't be metal shrouds and stuff.
based off a movie or some impression, but not necessarily.
Yeah. Right.
So look how big Tannerite was a year earlier. That's interesting because this is the older one, and it talked about the name just got changed. Oh, look, they did that for a year because this one says the Skylight Company has changed the name to Tannerite as of May 15th, and that's literally a year later. So they must have, for a while, kept that campaign going.
There was a POF ad on there. Wow. Yeah.
PSA.
Yeah. That's interesting. Been a while.
Since before they were making guns, this is just when they were building up parts kits, essentially.
Yeah.
And then the knives, I didn't see knives in that other one. But there was quite a few knife companies that would end up advertising in these Smoky Mountain Knife Works. I don't know if they did, but stuff like them. GG&G is here in Tucson. Half these companies are freaking in Tucson, or Arizona at least. What's up with that?
Yeah.
Actually, it's because Shotgun News. Or no, I was thinking something else. Shotgun News is from back east somewhere, I think. There's a Johnson rifle. I've only ever seen like 2 of these in my hands. Like I've only been able to fiddle with 2 of them before. And I didn't really fiddle with them because they cost like $2,600 at the time. I wasn't going to fiddle with it too hard.
Hey, what was the gold and silver going for?
Well, this is not really going. It says $46 per coin, but that's
Uh,
not real gold. That's some kind of a collector's
uh,
upgrade. Blah blah blah. So I'm just kind of flipping through it, and you kind of see the difference between some of the color ads and the black and white ads on the other one. Everything that we have today. I mean, there's been optics and BB guns and airsoft. That's about the closest thing you get to any kind of gun bunny in two whole issues here. So people that suggest that we've been whatever, they portray gun owners as a bunch of whatever, and that we what's the word when you objectify the ladies? So
misogynistic.
yeah, where do you see all that? Where's that ads happening in 2004? You know what I mean? Like so
Yeah.
far from that. I mean, there wasn't a lot of like use your boob holster or like there's your purse stuff, but there's certainly no boobs and tight shirts and none of that stuff.
Right.
I can't think any of that in Shotgun News. So it might either been Shotgun News's thing or just a
Well,
reality that the gun community wasn't into that as much as people want to act
I
like it in
think.
movies and stuff when they marginalize us.
Well, I also think there's a certain segment that's more prevalent in. Like that's. I think
Maybe
that's more prevalent in like a
shotgun
tac,
shooters.
like a tactical bros style scenario rather than a FUD scenario.
See, I would have said the other way. Like the NASCAR shotgun shooters are
Really?
probably going to get the.
Like
But no, the thing is they
you think
haven't
some
really. They're
old crusty dude that shoots a shotgun cares about some hot chick holding a gun? Like that's a young tactical bro thing, man.
No, I hear you. No, I hear you. And the posters back in the day were usually some girl looking like Predator or Commando, right? Like
Yeah.
the movies
Hmm.
carrying. But she's half the time she's just carrying something stupid like a street sweeper that was, it's hardly tactical. It's
Right.
goofy. All right, so I'm hitting some of these comments up that we can star over here. I don't know if I'm hitting them all, so if I'm missing something, let us know. But I haven't gone over there and updated the cart, so I'll eventually do that next time Clover's saying something. But now I'm not flipping through these pages, so I'm just gonna pull us both up here, and that way, if somebody wants to see something, they can. Otherwise, I'll just turn this off for a second and go through some of these star ones. So Shotgun News was available at my friend's shop. That's what I forgot to say too. Is that a lot of times back in the day, pre-internet, it's not like we learned how to talk bullshit about guns because of the internet. We bullshitted about guns our whole lives. And one of the places we did it before the internet was at the gun shops. And yeah, you'd have like a pile of Shotgun Newses sitting there. And then that way somebody could go, oh, I'm looking for that one revolver that I seen like 3 months ago in Shotgun News. And then somebody just go over and get that Shotgun News and go, this one? Yeah, I'll get that one. So, that was our, I don't know what to call that, like reference. We'd have a pile of them, not just Shotgun News. There'd be some other magazines there too, but for the different ads and the different stuff that I'd say about 90% of Shotgun News stayed the same, maybe 80%, depending from issue to issue, from year to year. Prices would change or the inventory numbers or something, but you knew what ads were going to be in there. So if you needed to compare prices with something, if you brought in a gun to a shop and you wanted an unreasonable amount for it, they could open up a Shotgun News and go, look, somebody could buy it brand new for less than what you expect me to buy it for. So, be realistic with that. Then there wasn't there a for sale section? Yep. Now, did you ever buy anything out of the Shotgun News?
I never have that I recall.
I remember at AOL buying stuff out of it. We'd sit around on break or when we were supposed to be working. Probably.
I say that. I mean, it's hard to say. I may have written a number down and then called and ordered something. I mean, it's possible.
Because that's the thing. I'm thinking before internet, before there was some other way to do it. It was
Yeah,
Shotgun News
I
before
definitely
we figured it
didn't.
out.
I definitely did not. I don't remember ever seeing anything in a magazine that I hit up a website or something and did. It was usually like, we jot this number down or something and call.
But honestly, I didn't do too much of it because I would go to gun shows and then I'd go to a lot of gun shops. If I went somewhere, I'd go to the gun shops in the area. So a lot of times and we didn't expect things. There wasn't like this expectation that you could just have everything when you wanted it back in the old days. You expected that if you wanted something that wasn't at the local store, it might take you a while before you ever have the opportunity to obtain it. So, you'd be at a gun shop out of town, you go hunting, you go fishing or something somewhere, you're on vacation or something and go somewhere for work or whatever. You go to a gun shop, you're trolling around, you find something. Oh, I've always wanted one of these. That's how you'd get something. You weren't necessarily, I want it, therefore I'm going to find who has it and order it. That wasn't a mentality we had, I don't think, necessarily back in the day. At least I didn't. Maybe it was because I was younger, but I think it's also because we didn't have anything to compare it to like this. Because now you just you figure, oh, I've heard of something new. I'm going to go find it until I find it and then own it. You don't have to wait very long for just about anything if you've got a ability to find it. I was going to say also, we found, I can't remember if this was AOL or Microsoft, but we're sitting around work one day looking at Shotgun News, and we found a bunch of SKS stuff. I'd have to ask Joe if he can remember more details about it. But it was like all kinds of SKS stuff, stocks and bayonets and all the different things you could do or have with an SKS minus the guns, right? In this like kind of a small ad. And we're looking and it says Tucson. I'm like, what? So we called the number, and I'm pretty sure we just, I don't know if we took a long lunch or we were at a time at one place at one point at AOL. I didn't have to worry about clocking in and out. I didn't have that kind of job. So it might have been then. But I can remember we were looking and we were like, oh, snap, this lady's in Tucson. We called and we just went over to her place. So that was not technically an order, but it kind of was. We got her information and we figured out that she had the inventory stuff, and we just went over to her house. That was pretty fun. Mike says, I'm starting to think out my road trip to Oklahoma. I'm assuming he's meaning Wanamaker, and what I'll need to take and do. I'll be going, I can't wait. I'll be going from can't carry at all and never carried to carry any way I want for that week in Oklahoma. He'll be driving through Arizona and New Mexico. So kind of switching gears there. Any advice for Mike from California, who's going to be going to Wanamaker and has the opportunity as soon as he crosses the state line into Arizona to carry any way he wants through Arizona? I don't remember New Mexico, but Oklahoma has constitutional, right? I think New Mexico does not.
Correct. I don't think New Mexico does.
I'm going to go look. But any advice for him?
Not really. We're talking about somebody who kind of takes it for granted. So, in a way, because it's just not that big of a deal, I guess. Yeah, because we've never been super restricted on stuff.
Yeah.
If you here's the thing. Drove all the way out to Vegas and not carried before. Like I've done that. So I've crossed those states he's talking about.
Yeah, there's almost nothing to worry about. You're on the highway, so you got to worry about like pirates and weird stuff that could happen on a highway. But if you're just driving in the middle of nowhere in any of those states, I'd say almost no chance of anything happening to you. Like it's probably some of the safest places to travel.
Yeah, you're burning down the interstate, right? And any place you stop is going to be probably like a all night, all time truck stop where there's constantly people there.
Well, I think is probably the most dangerous places, and those aren't dangerous. It's just because there's people there, it's possible that it's more dangerous. But again, it's hardly danger. So anyway, I wouldn't be too concerned. But taking advantage of the opportunity,
yes,
definitely do it. So let's see.
You won't be able to carry in the show. Is he going to? Is he going to Wanamaker?
I'm just going to assume so.
Yeah. Well, keep in mind you can't carry loaded in Wanamaker. So
yeah, and it ain't gun show, so that's the thing. You can unload and carry it around if you want,
right?
Or leave it in a car or whatever, but or a hotel or wherever you're going to be. Yeah, if you got a more specific question or whatever, but it's difficult to. I think I'm trying to remember when I first started carrying, but it was like in the 90s, so it has been a while. So I don't know if I've got the best, not fresh on what the stuff is going through your mind. But that might be an interesting conversation to have in one of the live chats. We certainly know enough people that do live chats, and I'm not saying that they all are looking for topics all the time, but could be an interesting, especially a big panel. To like when a Chris from 40, he usually has a bunch of people on. Have kind of go around the room and you get more variety of people that are more current on, or more recently started carrying. I guess the way you say it. And then what is this one? In 1994, I drove a new Ford Festiva to a sister that ended up stationed in Phoenix. 40 miles to the gallon. It cost $40 to drive across Oklahoma. In 94. Nice. Well, I don't know. Clover doesn't pay much for gas anymore. He's got his fancy electric car. Yeah, mine is more like closer to 80 to fill it up right now. And I can go 300 miles if I'm lucky. If I'm on the highway, I go about 300 miles on whatever I said, $80, $100. That's not 100. It's 100 when it goes up to $4. Am I missing any? Ghost saying I've never bought a magazine for a shotgun. Shotgun news would not be my thing. Well, I see what you're saying. But if you weren't paying attention to it, it was one of these things that's oversized. So I think a lot of people didn't even ever pay attention to it because it's not with the magazines usually. And often you had to go to like, what did you call it? Like a newsstand. You had to go somewhere that had more than just the casual magazines, like an assortment of a dozen or 2 dozen. You'd have to go to a place that sold cigars and a ton of magazines usually. But sometimes that could just be like I don't know, one of the gas stations in town. That's how it was for us. Like 1 or 2 of the bigger gas stations in town just had way more magazines than the others. Oh no, he's going to the Oklamogie Rodeo. Nice. So if you can carry there, then yeah, just put it in your pocket when you leave Arizona.
Needs to
Go back in the park department. Huh?
he needs to figure out the rodeo folks and coincide that with the Wanamaker.
I have not heard of that one. Let's see. Shotgun news sold in the book magazine section at the grocery stores. Yeah, you would find it once you could know what to look for. You could see it. Now, sometimes the grocery stores would only have these color ones, like when I don't know if that was once a year or quarterly or something, and then the black or the newspaper ones were only at certain stores, or maybe it was you got the color ones at newsstand, and then you had to have a subscription to get the others. Maybe I forget. And then of course, there's almost always, not so much anymore, but at the time there was almost always somebody selling a stack of them for nothing. Like you could go to a gun show or something, or even a gun shop and just take a pile of them for free, or somebody'd sell them for $1 for the whole pile or something at a gun shop or a gun show. It's a black rodeo. Right on. How do you say that then? Oklahoma? Mahogany? No.
Okmulgee.
Huh?
Okmulgee.
Oklahoma. Right on. I'm not big into rodeos, but I dig them. I understand the deal of them, why people like them so much. If I was going to do anything, I'd probably do that deal where you ride around on a horse shooting stuff at balloons or whatever.
Right. Yeah, the mounted.
There's a couple of different versions of that. It's always girls doing that, though. So
it takes very special horses to be able to do that.
I'd have to do the deal, and then I can compete compete against a bunch of girls. Except in that one, I think you'd want to be whatever the girls got going, lower center of balance and all that.
Yeah.
I think I'd have an advantage being a big dude.
Yeah, horses, mounted shooting. The people I know a few guys that are into cowboy action, reenactment style stuff, and they spend a lot of time with their training with their horses because they're shooting blanks even a lot of times.
Oh yeah, that's all they shoot.
And it's still loud, and horses freak out, so they gotta.
Do you ride a horse much, or have you ridden horses?
I don't care for horses, man. I really don't.
Oh, okay. I was going to say done some stuff where I was thought a horse was going to startle, but I've never had one startle under me. But yeah, I wouldn't want to be on the back of something like a horse that freaked out.
Right.
All right, well, so we wanted to kind of go backwards in time a little bit and look at gunflation. Or actually, the prices weren't that crazy. I mean, I guess cheaper than now. I lived through them all, so I guess I wasn't surprised by them. Going back to look at like I don't know, 1980 or something. Shotgun News might be interesting. I don't remember when it started. I think it started around there, 84 or something, right? So looking at one of the first ones might be interesting. The variety or the selection and variety is going to be so little compared to even these. But nowadays, it's probably, well, actually, I was going to say it's probably even bigger, but it's not. It's probably just different suppliers nowadays than there used to be.
Right.
Right. Well, those guys are talking about type of carry and stuff like that. So if you're looking for type of carry, appendix or cross draw. So
Appendix
if
is
we're
going to
sitting
be.
in a car, appendix or cross draw.
Oh, if I'm sitting in a car, I'd much rather go cross draw.
Yeah, cross draw is the shit. Most people don't want to walk around with a cross draw because you look like, what is it? You know, Walker Texas Ranger or some shit when you're walking around. But for sitting in a car, I could see cross draw being pretty comfortable and useful. I'm
Yeah.
not as scared of ankle holsters though. I know a lot of people freak out and have issues with ankle holsters, but as
Same
often
here.
as we use these things, like it's right there. I mean, I don't know if you've ever itched your ankle before, but guess what? You have because we can reach our ankles. It's just how it is. So if you're worried about the weight, put a tourniquet on the other side or a spare mag or something on the other side,
Mhm.
and then you don't even notice they're there. But for sitting in a car, I still wouldn't want
Sometimes to a
to.
detriment, you don't notice they're there. I've smacked my guns up against stuff before ankle
Oh
carrying,
yeah,
not
no, I
paying
was just
attention.
going to say,
Smack.
and it is also is hotter. So unless you're going,
Yeah.
if you're going through California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and Oklahoma, might want to just go with the cross draw and not have to worry about hot ankles and all that.
Yeah.
I carried once and it was cross draw. I liked it right on. So especially if you have a holster to do it. But let's see, Arizona, nobody's going to care. California, you can't do it anyway. New Mexico, I guess. I never had an issue in New Mexico, knocking on wood. But Texas, never been pulled over. Oklahoma, been pulled over. I don't even know how many times. They don't care at all. They're like, "Oh, you got a gun? That's great." So other states, I'm trying to think about. Nothing that well, it's the only states you're going to go through. So Oklahoma, I can't imagine they're going to care. I really can't imagine Texas was going to care. The fact that you're from California, I wouldn't, and you're going to have California plates. I wouldn't be surprised if you get pulled over because
Yeah.
there's so many drugs and things going down 40 or the road you're going to be on. I'm assuming, and even if you don't go on the main road, if you've got California plates and you're not on the main road, you probably even got more chance of being pulled over. But
Yeah.
when I've been pulled over, except for in my own vehicle, it's been in rentals that had either like New Mexico or Arizona plates or California plates. And, it's just the
Right.
police officer. What are they going to do? They're going to play the odds, right? So I wouldn't be too surprised if you get pulled over. And then, um,
Yeah.
well,
That
that's all I
stretch
can
is
say
not
is,
bad though. He's
yeah.
talking
And
about.
they're all familiar with guns, so I wouldn't be too worried about them
And he's
freaking out.
talking about barreling down 40, basically, right?
I think so. I'm assuming so.
Yeah. So that leg, like I've many times we drove that, for shot or whatever, and freaking 80, 85 mile an hour hammer down, and no issues at all. I mean, at all. Um, you're in a time of year now, you don't got to worry about weather so much. Now, when we make the shot trip, we've got to be really mindful of potential snowstorms and crazy things like that coming through. But uh,
No, you don't have to worry about nothing but heat
now
on
on
this.
the southern stretch, if he was to come down 10, and there's no reason for him to do that if he's going to Oklahoma, but you got some checkpoint stops because of the border and things like that, but they're they're nothing burgers. The times I've been through those. For me, I mean, I've got a hillbilly redneck Texas accent, so it's pretty easy when I roll down my window and they ask me a question and I answer. They pretty much tell, yeah, this dude's from Texas.
I think it's more of if you got the pickup and they can see everything, they don't care because they hardly even pull over pickups they can see in because they're worried about people and they're worried about giant truckloads of drugs or whatever.
Right.
So I would be more worried if you got like a. I've always been pulled over going to Wanamaker in a vehicle that can carry a lot of guns, so SUVs, whatever those are called, Suburbans, and then my van.
Yeah.
Right. So
Well,
my van has no windows and it's huge. So they're gonna. I'm not surprised that highway patrol worries about my van in the middle
that's
of
a
the night.
question.
Yeah. And they almost
Well,
always just go, okay, see ya. They just want to
well,
make sure I'm not
yeah, it's not a big
doing
deal.
something.
The time when I went out to GRPC, come back, I went down from Phoenix to Tucson, and then we went to Tombstone, and then I came Interstate 10 to home, right? And that's the way I went out there too, honestly. But anyway, I was in that rental, that Jeep Grand Cherokee, and I definitely had guns. You remember that? You can check out the Instagram of all the gun pics in Tombstone, which was awesome. But anyway, I had all kinds of guns back there, and I think I got stopped maybe that whole trip. I think I got stopped maybe 4 times by border checkpoint things, and it was literally I rolled down the window and they're like, "Where you from? Where you headed? Oh, okay. Have a nice day." Like literally, that's it. Like, where you from? Where you headed? Like, that's it. Okay, see ya.
So Mike's saying, not looking forward to getting pulled over with a gun, scaring me just sitting there. It can be freak. You can freak out a little bit, but I don't want to sound like.
I don't think Arizona and Oklahoma. I mean, Arizona and Oklahoma, I think are two. Like maybe if you get the odds of you getting pulled over are slim. But I
No,
think
I've
that
been pulled over like 6 times in Oklahoma. I get pulled over all the time on 40 in Oklahoma with you got Texas plates, and they probably don't care for some reason. But
yeah,
California and Oakland County and Arizona plates, they don't like them going across to Oklahoma.
maybe.
Um,
Biggest
Now, a
thing
lot
is
of
just
times I'm
remember.
booking. A lot of times I'm booking in the middle of the night, so that might be
Yeah.
a factor too.
Well, and the biggest thing is you get pulled over. I mean, it's common sense shit. Like get your wallet out, set it on the dash right there. Keep your hands up on the wheel. If he asks, say, yeah, I got one on my hip. And like G said, if it's Oklahoma and Oklahoma has constitutional carry, they deal with that all the time. So
Yeah, and
where
they're
where you
pulling
get,
people over to see what's up, not to
yeah,
bother you, not to harass you. They're just really
you,
going to make sure you're not like some deranged,
yeah,
whatever they call it. What do they call them? Mules, or I don't know what they call them when the people that drive drugs across country. But I'm assuming those people
yeah,
are probably wigged out on meth or something and trying to haul ass. They're just trying to. They could
they're
probably
probably
see them a mile
sketchy
away.
and
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, probably sketchy. They don't have their hands on the wheel. They're not acting normal, so they just act
Like of
normal.
all the times we've been pulled over, we don't get tickets. We just get pulled over because mainly they want to just see what's going on in the vehicle. But
Yeah.
anyways, it's not like
Well, they got to have some kind of a little reason, right? But
but I mean, it's not like what do you call those when they would not a traffic trap, a speed trap, where they're just trying to get income from the traffic. They're
right.
more just monitoring who people are.
Mhm.
Which again, I don't know. We're not going to debate. I'm just trying to say that, not the politics of it or whatever aside. I'm just saying that they're pulling you over just to see if you got a bunch of people or drugs. So if you don't got a vehicle, like if you got a regular car with windows, they're not pulling everybody over. They're just pulling over stuff that could have a pile of people or drugs in it. Period. Like
Right.
they're just looking. So I wouldn't be too concerned if you're in a regular car, but if you're in an SUV, don't be uh, surprised if you get pulled over for just dumb stuff like not signaling enough. Like we've got signal for not signaling enough, and literally we were driving to Wanamaker, and Bob is telling me last time I drove through here, I got a ticket for not blinking, or I got pulled over for not blinking enough. So
Yeah.
I'm going to blink a lot. And then he got pulled. As he's saying that, we got pulled over. I might have it on video, or I might even been streaming. We have him getting pulled over for blinking too much. And then again, like, okay, see ya. Maybe it's a sobriety check. Yeah, that kind
Yeah.
of thing too.
Yeah. They
Because
just
it is
nitpick on it.
Oklahoma and people are cross country ending it, right?
Yep. Yeah. Well, and what time of the day or night is it, right? Or the day of the week? Because, like, if you're talking about sobriety checks, like Friday, Saturday nights, late after all the bars are closed, type thing, or something.
That's true. Yeah, they're not going to worry
Potentially there
about it
could
on
be some,
Sunday afternoon or whatever.
yeah,
Right.
could be some issue like
Unless you're
that. But
leaving, of course. But yeah.
Right.
And I guess the other thing is they're probably not going to bother with somebody from California assuming that you got a gun. You know what I mean? Even with constitutional carry, they're just probably assuming most people from California, they're just not gun people, so they're not maybe going to even bring it up, unless they just always bring it up. I guess who knows?
Hmm.
But it'll be the
Right.
usually the officers' familiarity, and what we're saying is every state you're driving through, the officers have the ultimate familiarity. They're not concerned about it, and you're not going to
Yeah.
look sketchy to them. So yeah, I'd be surprised if you even get pulled over if it's.
And it's going to change from one
Well, I
officer
shouldn't
to the
say that.
next,
I don't know.
right? Like,
Maybe Mike's from California. Maybe he's like one of these people that's like, oh, 10 over is normal and 15 over is kind of pushing it. Because in most of the country, 5 over is you're getting a ticket. You know, like they're, or
yeah,
at least you're ripe for getting a ticket, especially on a highway. And I don't call that a speed trap. You know, if they're just trying to slow people down or they know they can get people for 10 over and it's money all day, they will do that. I don't know about those because I don't get caught by those. I always
yeah,
just drive the speed limit.
yeah,
But yeah, I guess that's a factor I don't bring up or I don't think about myself. But if you're one of those folks that drives fast, then you're probably less. You're more familiar with getting pulled over, right? Like most of those people, I'm sure, are
yeah.
getting pulled over more often than not.
Well, and I mean, it's going to depend on things out of your control, like, what type of a law enforcement officer's pulling you over. Is it the rookie guy that's a week on the job, fresh out of the
That's true.
academy, or is it the
Yeah,
crusty old dude that's seen everything and been out on the road for 20 years? I mean, they're totally different attitudes between those guys too. So, does
yeah,
that
just got in
seem
a fight with
normal?
the ex-wife, or like has a quota this
True.
week or this
This is
month.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's all kinds of stuff that you can't
So
do. You can't,
be, act normal, be cordial, and or civil or whatever, and you're good. You're not doing anything illegal, so don't act like it.
but it's definitely a concern and it's a legitimate one. Hopefully, though, you get comfortable with it and you enjoy just the freedom of carry. And, uh, as you travel more and more, it just becomes more comfortable. And yeah, hopefully one day we'll see the federal courts or the Supreme Courts, I guess, get rid of the couple of 3 or 4 or whatever 5 states that have
Right.
your infringements that stop you from carrying easily.
Hmm. Yep.
Uh, G23 is saying he notifies the officer when they walk up to the vehicle. I don't wait for them to ask. Personally, I don't do that. I
Yeah.
don't know what it's like up
Yeah.
there,
Like
but
that.
they don't care. Out here, they just do not care. Like I can't. I don't want to act like I get stopped all the time, but if you go past like a inspection thing, or maybe they just walk over to see if you got like a permit for being there, like when you're flying a drone or something. That's not really like a traffic stop or like a fishing
Mhm.
game and fish person. Like
Yeah.
like Clover said, sometimes the new people, or maybe just somebody who isn't a gun guy, got transferred here from Connecticut or something, like they'll do some procedure. And I've had maybe a couple of cops say, "You got a gun?" And I'll go, "Yeah." They'll go, "Keep it in your pocket. I'll keep my." Like I've had that happen twice. I think the
Yeah.
rest of the time they just don't give a shit. They don't
Yeah.
even ask if I got a gun. They just don't care.
Yeah. Yep.
Unless I guess if you're getting arrested, they're obviously going to give a shit. But if you're just talking to them, like they don't ask everybody they meet if they got
Yeah.
a gun.
They got to pat you down. Yeah. Yeah. And
But
if
maybe that's and that it might just be out here. Maybe that is different. Like you're in a city, maybe
well,
they just interact with people differently in city.
some states there's a duty to inform, right? Like there's some states
Oh,
that do
there
that,
is, yeah.
right?
And you have to comply with that. I just don't think you have to
Yeah.
worry about it in any of the states you're talking about. That's I think the only state we have to worry about that is something like is it Indiana or some state up east where I haven't dealt with it. Otherwise, I'd never had to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, but other than that, I wouldn't. There's something to be said about getting pulled over. And as soon as the officer walks up, go, "I got a gun." Like, whoa, hold on a minute. Like, freak him out or something. Handing him a license or a permit would be, a more
Subtle.
subtle way of doing that when you hand. And I've done that before, where I've handed him my driver's license and my LTC, and then he immediately will look and then immediately hand me my LTC back, and like no words are even spoken. It's like it's understood. Like, oh, he wouldn't have handed me that if he didn't want me to know.
Right. And then by not caring, he is also telling you that he doesn't care.
Yeah.
And that's immediately how he can tell that you don't care. You know what I mean?
But I've
Like,
had that before too, where they've asked, and it was exactly what you said. They'll ask, they'll say, "If you got a gun?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got one. Got one on my hip." He's like, "If you don't touch yours, I won't touch mine." I'm like, deal.
Okay, so the weirdest thing I've talked about this before. I think I have a live stream as soon as it happened type of thing. I was driving my. Did you ever see my truck when it was all smashed up? My pickup.
Nah, I don't guess so.
Before I got the cop car, I had this pickup that got all smashed up, and it was still drivable, but it looked like I had wrapped it around like a telephone pole or something, like head on. So it just looked all smashed up. Anyway, I was driving it around, and it was always a risk because I'm driving around this thing that's all smashed up. But it was, it complied with everything, but it looked bad. So anyhow, I got pulled over by a state police in like a gas station parking lot, just like going down the street for whatever reason, just to bother me, probably because it looked all smashed up. I think they were complaining about a light not working or something. And I may have had like a backlight that didn't work or brake light or something like that. But it was essentially like a minor thing. And they were giving me a ticket for it. And was did I get a ticket? I don't get tickets very often. So it might have been one of those deals where I got a ticket, but then I just had to do the online class and it went away and, it's gone or whatever. But whatever, I don't remember the actual ticket, but I remember this was the weirdest thing is they stopped me and then I don't remember if I had to get out or if they told me to get out. But anyway, it got to the point where you got a gun? Yeah, in my pocket. And then they're like, maybe that's when it's like, okay, can you get out? And then they reached in my pocket and pulled my revolver out of my pocket. And that was the creepiest thing I've ever dealt with. Somebody else reaching into my pocket to grab my revolver out of there. Probably the only bad thing about a pocket carry is the potential of that. And since I had lived through it, I have to acknowledge that is a potential. And that was super creepy because there's just so many ways that could go wrong. But anyway, they pulled it out and unloaded it, put the bullets in a freaking envelope or something, and put the gun on my driver's seat. And then just made this whole like procedure out of it. And I'm like, I don't know, I guess you're scared of guns or like your second day on the job or something. But it was a lot of weird procedure and risk, in my opinion, reaching into somebody else's pocket to grab something you've never seen before in who knows what condition. But anyway, I'm sure nobody else had to deal with that. I've never heard of anybody else who's had to deal with that one.
Well, another reason maybe if you are going to pocket carry to maybe have a sticky holster or have something that way.
I'll have it in a safari land, but the point is like the person who's never reached into your pocket before, they don't know what's about to happen.
True.
Who knows what they're doing with their weird fingers? I mean, I just have no idea.
Yeah.
Now I'm pretty sure I was wearing pants where it was no big deal either. But what if I was wearing like my, what do you call them? Tight shorts or tight pants, where you could barely get your hand in the pocket type of crap. Like, I mean, I wouldn't be pocket carrying with that, but if somebody was like, it just seems like a weird thing to do. But like I say, I can't even count how many times I've interacted with police, and that was definitely the weirdest singular time I've ever had to deal with anything like that.
Yeah, sounds like. Yeah.
And I haven't heard of anybody else. I don't bring it up all that often, I guess, but I haven't heard of anybody else actually having something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe they just, I'm sure the whatever school or classes they go to has to tell them it's a dumb idea. But I don't know. I don't know what the alternative is, I guess. Have the person pull it out themselves. That's, I guess, a bad idea.
All right.
In Illinois, you never know what kind you're going to come in or do. I guess that's everywhere, though. New people getting transferred, people having a bad day, a great day. You never know. Oregon is not a duty uniform. I never say gun. I say firearm or weapon. Dude, I do not get that one. I mean, I would only ever say gun. There's no possible way I'm going to say the word weapon to a police officer ever. Like maybe off, when we're having a family picnic or something there, my brother-in-law, but like, I'm not saying weapon to a police officer unless it's about what somebody used against me or something.
All right.
Why would I let them? Because what am I going to do? Run around and act like I'm not going to comply with the state cop doing their thing? And it happened so quickly that it's not like it's like, I've had this happen before, and here's how I'm going to get out of this. It just happened pretty quick.
Yeah.
All right, well, so that was kind of an tangent / add on to the show, a little extra, like we put a trailer hitch on the back and gave you a little extra to the gunflation topic. Ozzy had said after he got his permit, he decided to, or he noticed that he drives slower. I think most people probably mind their P's and Q's because you don't need to. You can think about all the possible crazy, things that might happen.
All right.
These are things could play out. So yeah, you want to just be as much a fly on the wall as possible.
Yep.
All right. Well, so that was the Gunflation version. Let's see, Clover, you got anything coming up?
Mm,
When
I
does
don't think
your
so.
podcast season start again?
September.
Oh, you got a while.
Yeah.
And then what? It'll be September through November?
Um. Yeah, September, October, maybe into November. Yeah.
Right on. So people can look forward to that. Those will be, what, a couple of times a week, probably. Live interviews with people.
Hmm.
And then a podcast people can listen to at their leisure. What about the Closed or the Glover podcast that everyone talks about?
Oh, that will be. I don't know. Probably going to be. It won't be tomorrow. That'll be the 16th, and then we may have to double up and go the 16th and the 23rd because I'm not sure I'll be around um, on the 30th. So I don't know. The next few weeks of that one's going to be. Got to play that by ear. I got some things going on. It being summertime, that's might throw a kink
Traveling
in the.
for content or something else?
Do what now?
You traveling for content or something or doing something else?
No, it's personal stuff.
Oh, fancy vacations. He doesn't want to talk about.
Just grandbaby stuff and going. They've never stayed in a hotel, and they've talking about going and visiting some of the caves and stuff around. Where am I thinking? Austin, San Antonio, that area.
I didn't know there was caves around there. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, so we're gonna go look at some caves, some holes in the ground. Apparently, let them stay at a hotel. It'll be a short trip, but still it'll be on the weekend. So it kind of depends on how things play out and what time we get back and all that kind of stuff.
Right on. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Georgetown. What is he saying Georgetown for?
That's where some of the caves are at.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, so with that, we'll be back with this show on Saturday. If people have been asking questions, the official deal is that we have AskGunQuestions.com, a website that's been around for a long time. I don't have the intro anymore. I may or may not start paying for StreamYard. It hasn't really been that difficult not paying for it because you get 20 hours, and when you're not going daily, you don't really use 20 hours. So I don't even know where I'm at with time on it, but I'm only using 2 hours at a time. So if I can shove some of my banners and stuff back up in here, I might just leave it off. But till then, I don't have any intros or anything here. But thanks for everybody for watching us. We'll be back on Tuesday. You're going to be around Tuesday for coaching?
Hopefully so, yeah.
Okay, so then I don't think we have a topic for next week. So if somebody's got some idea for a topic next week, otherwise we'll ask the robot, and we'll be with you on Tuesday morning. Oh, I guess I will drop a commercial here at the end. I'll be putting stuff up over at the store this weekend. Bunch of new inventory. So thanks for joining us.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.